Okay, thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you for clicking the little bell. Now, I wanted to start with this comment because this comment right here, it really just shows why this kind of crazy toxic feminist stuff, why it takes over. So look what this person says. You read that crap and believe it. Give me a break. This world has gone mad. Let me tell you exactly why I believe this book. Because when women, and I don't mean the women watching, when women go to college, okay, the toxic ones, and they go for liberal arts and feminist prose theory degrees because they get a major and they major in feminist prose theory or some kind of bullshit like that, right? They read books like this. They read them. That's what the professor in those classes, that's what the professor at a college will instruct their students to read. So when you say you read that crap and believe it, yeah, because you know how many people go to college and they'll read something like that and it'll change their entire worldview going forward? Do you have any idea? And really, that number's really high because, like I said, you go to college and the professor that is teaching feminist prose or feminist theory or whatever the fuck it's called, they'll say, okay, we want you to read SCUM, A Society for Cutting Up Men by Valerie Soul Anus. That's what the professor will say. And then the people in that class that are getting a college education, if you can even call it that, they're reading books like this. And it's changing their entire worldview. So, do I believe this book? Absolutely. Now, the crazy part and the scary part is how many other people have read this as instructed by a professor in college, and then this is where they see the world. So we're just going to continue with this book. We were still in the introduction. We're going to go back a tad bit, and we're going to start. At this part right here. Women who have formed a new liberation movement, women who are beginning to say no in thunder to the cultural persuasion that their primary needs are biological and not egotistical. Women who are beginning to raise their voices in heat and anger against a civilization that has sought to convince them that the psychic energy at the center of all human life, stop doing acid, at the center of the human's driving need to work and solve problems and to take himself seriously is not the common lot of men and women. Women who are beginning to understand that it has benefited a patriarchal society to make adults of men by giving them all real responsibility and to make children of women by depriving them of real responsibility. See, so now basically what's happening is you're seeing this person call women literal children because they have no real responsibility. And really, tell me, today, in society today, unless a woman is a mother, what responsibility does she have to anything? Anything, unless she's a mother. It's only to kids. What responsibility does she have? Does she have to worry about making her own payments? No, because what's the phrase? Well, I pay my own bills. I don't need no man. Okay, so you pay your own bills. Why are you bragging about doing something that normal adult men do? What do you mean? Normal adults, not even adult men. Paying your own bills is an adult thing. It has nothing to do with being empowered. So when you say, well, I pay my own bills, are you not supposed to? Like, what are you talking about? Is someone else supposed to do that for you? That you pay your own bills, so you're bragging about being an adult? Women who are beginning to realize they've been cheated of their birthright by the insistence that the qualities of passivity and aggression are unmixed in the race, with all the passivity accruing to the women and all the aggression accruing to the men. Now that's very simple. We all know that. Women are much more aggressive now. They'll put their hands on you because you disagree with them. And I've said that on my channel before. They absolutely will today in 2022. And this is why I like reading something like this, because you look at this in hindsight. And what do they always say? Hindsight is 2020. right? So looking at this in hindsight, when they say something like that, cheated of their birthright by insistence that the qualities passivity and aggression are unmixed within the race, with all the passivity accruing to the women and all the aggression accruing to the men. So where's all the aggression now? You know and the ladies that watch me, they know that I can call them out and look them in the face, and they'll be able to call out women that are aggressive as well. Amber Heard, we just went through 6 weeks of a psychotic, aggressive woman. Amber Heard. So when you read that, passivity accruing to the women and all the aggression accruing to the men. Well, if you look at today's current society, men are more passive now. Men let a woman get away with anything she wants. They'll let her do whatever the fuck she wants now. They're all passive now. Will a woman let a man do whatever he wants? Well, you answer that question, because I don't need to answer that question. I really don't. I don't need to answer that question at all, because we can see it. Amber Heard is the perfect example, dude. We've all heard the audios. And especially now, let me tell you what, it looks like we're going to have to revisit the Amber Heard case, because everybody on Twitter is trying to do some revisionist history. So I have to tell you that. Accruing to the men, women who are determined now in this great new wave of feminism, third wave, that really got that one, to make a lunge for that brass ring, which threatens more than any other element of social revolution abroad ever could, to bring Western society toppling. Now, I said that last week. Why are you going to bring down the culture that gave you your rights? You know, and it's a very simple phrase that I used to hear it all the time when I was a child. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. And there it is right there. So you're trying to tell me women are going through, and this is in the 60s, like I've said, women are going through a phase of feminism where they're starting to be liberated. And who gave them the power to be liberated? The Western culture. So you're trying to tell me you were liberated by Western culture, and then you're fine. What does this say? Social revolution abroad, more than any other element of social revolution abroad ever could, to bring Western society toppling. You're biting the hand that feeds you, and you don't even realize that. The women's rights movement is hardly new. 100 years ago, it shook this nation and then shook most of the West, ending sadly with the nearly meaningless concession of suffrage. You see how they look at their own achievements? And that's because suffrage was done by men. You had to, because back when suffrage was a thing in the early 1900s, don't forget that, when suffrage became a thing, men allowed it to happen. Western culture allowed suffrage to happen. They gave women their rights because of the suffrage movement, dude. They don't even fucking realize that. They don't even look at it like that. It's just like, oh, Western culture is bad. Men are bad. So that means that Western culture is man. Okay. Feminism has continued to raise its spectral head in nearly every revolution, every period of reform, every body of social thought that has left a mark on modern times, in each generational struggle. Feminism's expressive forms are taken from the immediate terms of life all about it. It renders itself in the flesh of the moment, but its heart is fundamentally universal and timeless. Well, the problem is, you know what I would love to do? I would love to meet Valerie Soul Anus, and I would love to let her look at the current state of feminism, which is basically shaking your ass on stage is now empowerment. I would love to see what Valerie Soul Anus thinks about that. I would love to see that. Thus is Valerie Soul Anus's SCUM manifesto both of its time and beyond it. The fundamental vision of the manifesto is that the internal feminist, the form is that of the internal feminist, the form is that of the decadent and emotionally disconnected 20th century. The manifesto speaks in the voice of the lost and grief-stricken child of the West of this moment, savage and breathlessly icy, cruelly ungiving with the world that has cheated it of its life. It is a voice beyond reason, beyond negotiation, beyond bourgeois decencies. It is a voice of one who has been pushed past the limit, one whose psychological bearings are gone. who can no longer be satisfied with anything less than blood. Set in such a mental framework, Soul Anus speaks through the true feelings of the quintessential feminist heart, and those feelings are feelings of black rage, rage of an ungiving, unstinting, mediating nature, rage to the death, rage out of the racial unconsciousness which accumulates the experience of the centuries and drops onto each woman as she is being born. What? Rage with not all women have been as quick and daring as Soul Anus to see and understand and to accept. When the women's liberation movement began gathering steam a few years ago, everyone in the movement, feeling the sting of middle-class scorn and ridicule, hastened to disown Valerie Soul Anus and all other extremists who spoke language similar to hers. Soul Anus was, it was generally agreed in reformist circles, one of those mad, unnatural women with whom the movement was unfortunately being identified. Ooh, ooh, ooh. History doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. Ouch. Let's read that part again. Because that's basically what has happened. We've literally seen that happen with Amber Heard now. How many feminists now have opened their eyes after the Amber Heard trial and they've seen what feminism is now? So let's read that again. It's literally rhyming with what's going on now. Feeling the sting of middle-class scorn and ridicule, hastened to disown Valerie Soul Anus and the other extremists who spoke a language similar to hers. Soul Anus was, and it was generally agreed in reformist circles, one of those mad, unnatural women with whom the movement was unfortunately being identified. So that's essentially, literally, that's Amber Heard right there. Because Amber Heard opened the eyes of millions of feminists, millions of them. And especially with people like Dr. Proudman and Eve Barlow, those kind of people, they opened women's eyes. And there's nothing that they can do to close them again. Nothing. Being identified, her words of fierce and annihilating hatred were certainly not typical of what the liberationists wanted, which was mainly equal pay for equal work, daycare centers, the right to an equal education, and a whole lot other damn full respectable things. Well, we have that now. We have all those things you just listed now in 2022, and feminists today still say that they don't have the same rights. So is it a talking point, we all don't have the same rights, or is it actuality? It's a talking point. It's a victim game. That's what it is. That's literally all it is. We do not hate men, the women of now announced vigorously, like hell we don't, came from the carefully considered reply exactly 1 year later from perfectly respectable ladies whose consciousness had been considerably raised in the intervening months. So Soul Anus, her fury had been prophetic, stripped of the weight of bourgeois amenities, and it had dropped swiftly and directly into the heart of the feminist consciousness, finding there a sea of resentment that threatens daily as the movement advances and ranks begin to double and triple and quadruple, to rise and swell and drown the world. Soul Anus had understood from the very beginning in the savage, gutter snipe terms of her generation's mad, stripped down expressiveness, the rage beyond reason, that it just sounds like anger. It sounds like anger. That's all it sounds like. That the dispossessed of the world are beginning to spill onto civilization's ground. She had understood that having been pent up so long, well, what, you never got laid? Sounds like it. Having swallowed their humiliation time and time again, having been confused and deceived about their own worth. Oh God, know my worth. Ugh. Having been cunningly deprived of their psychic and moral energy. Stop doing acid. Stop. Women like blacks were now about to go genuinely mad with the anger that comes to the dispossessed like a flash flood upon the heels of the first drawing of realization of what has actually been taken from them. What? What has been taken from you? What are you talking about? And that's because this is from the 60s. Back then, women barely, it was still coming around, like all the kind of shit that they have today. What? Back then, you could get beat. Back then, you could literally get beat. If a man didn't like the way you cooked your food for your family, he'd hit you. Okay, that shit doesn't happen anymore. But even then, it doesn't sound like what's going on. What are you talking about? The SCUM manifesto reads like an early writings of Malcolm X, and why not? One asks immediately upon the thought, who else indeed should Soul Anus sound like? Women and blacks are, after all, the true outsiders of this society. Wow. Okay. Okay. Now we're gonna have to calm down on that one. I can understand the blacks thing. You're trying to tell me that black people and women back in the '60s were the same? I don't know about all that. No, I don't know about all that. One of them was literally getting killed in the streets. We remember how real that used to be. Okay, especially when the Ku Klux Klan was real, when it was a real threat to black people. Not like today when it's just a fucking talking point. No, I'm sorry. I understand the plight of women back then. I can understand it. I can understand it, but do not equal yourselves to black people. That's a little bit much. Valerie Solanas are the quintessential black of. Oh wait, hold on. Let's go back. Women and blacks are, after all, the true outsiders of this society, and Malcolm X and Valerie Solanas are the quintessential black and female outsiders. Well, Malcolm X got killed by his own people, so obviously, in hindsight, this is a hell of a lot different. We all know what happened to Malcolm X. So if you don't know history, you better go find out, because Malcolm X got killed by his own people. So you ain't gonna play that game with me. Full of the narrow, icy insights of the genuine outsider, the manifesto's truth, like that of the ill-fated black leader's writings, at first seem easily dismissible. After all, it's perfectly demented, isn't it? Couched as Malcolm X's writings were in reckless and obsessive language, many other people never got past his white devils long enough to see the brilliance and pain and justice of his evaluation of white middle-class life and what it has done to blacks. Oh, so you're just going to go ahead and leave out how he felt about white liberals. Okay. Yeah, we all know how Malcolm, if you know history, you know how Malcolm X felt about white liberals. Okay, so trying to talk shit about the white middle class, yeah, right. Okay, and it's still even today, white liberals today, you know, we don't even have to talk about that. Done to blacks. Equally, many never got past Soul Anus's men are the biological abortion. What? To see the startling accuracy of her description of the male composition of power in the over-socialized mid-20th century life of America, and recognize the brilliance in her speculations about the original causes and the emotional accuracy of her prophecy about where and between whom the ultimate struggle will shape up. The manifesto is composed mainly of a portrait drawn in acid. No shit. Of the white American middle class male and the social, political, economic, cultural universe over which he presides. Oh my God. Ugh. You know, the problem is that it's supposed to be so anti-male, but then they start talking about white. You know, I guess the only reason I'd be able to understand that is because in the 60s and back in the 1900s, in those years, white people, yeah, it's true, there was a hardcore shit. Not like today. White people suck today. Everybody knows that. They talk shit about white people every fucking day now. But I don't like this. I don't like this equation from black people to women. I don't like that, because there's no way in hell you're going to get me to believe that women went through what black people went through. I'm sorry. No. Described in the harsh and ridiculing, infantilism, too far. Acid of white American middle class male and okay. It is meant to devastate him, to reduce his works to zero, his emotions to puling infantilism, whatever. His ideas and motives for work to intellectual myopia, his sense of himself to the delusions of a manic depressive, and indeed the work accomplishes its ends. This is the problem. So you're essentially saying you're trying to destroy the white man. That's all you're saying, man. You're trying to destroy the white man. Okay, I guess. So then now we've gone from Valerie Solanas against men to now the real thing, which is Valerie Solanas against the white man. Described in unconscious and manic depressive, and indeed the work accomplishes its ends, described in harsh and ridiculing language that is nearly beside itself with contempt and an anguishing fury, the manifesto does observe men with an eye and a tongue that are annihilating. There can be no doubt they're pigs, all right. However, when it's all over, what one is really left with, left with, when it's all over, what one is really left with is a deep and widening sadness for all of us men and women caught as we all are in the labyrinth mazes of sexism. That's how it feels now, man. It really does. It feels, I mean, with the whole thing that's going on, it feels like we're just in a maze nowadays. For real. You don't know where you're going. You don't know how to get there. You don't know with sexism. It's just like, where are we? For quite apparently, the men described by Solanus as fire and ice are as much prisoners as they are jailers, as much victims as they are victimizers, and as much the bewildered dupes of their own superior position in the system as they are profiteers. What? As Abraham Lincoln once said, if you want to keep a man down, you got to get right down there in the dirt with him. What I mean is this: Solanus writes, completely egocentric, unable to relate, empathize, or identify, and filled with a vast, pervasive, diffuse sexuality, the male is psychically, damn it, passive. He hates his passivity, so he projects it onto women. Oh my God. So hold on. What does that mean? He hates his passivity, so he projects it onto women. What, are you trying? So then now you're saying that the women aren't passive. You just said that in the last page. You just said that women are the passive ones in your little society back in the 60s. And now you're saying it's because of men? He hates his passivity, so he projects it onto women, defines the male as active. What? Fine. See, and this is why I hate these people. They just talk. And it doesn't matter what they say. They just talk. Screwing then is a desperate, compulsive attempt to prove he's not passive, not a woman, but he is passive and does want to be a woman. What? Okay, fine. Now we're going into the trans thing, I guess. One sees instantly the truth of what she is saying. Now transpose the terms for a moment in your mind and make the passage read: the woman is psychically aggressive. She hates and fears her aggressivity, so she projects it onto men, defines the female as passive. Screwing, then being taken, defines her passivity. I mean, they just turned it around. I don't know. Hold on. The woman is psychically aggressive. She hates and fears her aggressivity, so she projects it onto men. It's the same thing, but now transpose the terms for a moment in your mind and make the passage read. Yeah. So what are you saying? You're saying the truth, because that's kind of what it sounds like. It kind of sounds like this Valerie woman is crazy aggressive, and because she's so aggressive, she just projects that onto men. So I know you said to transpose the term in your mind and make the passage read, but that sounds more true than the whole thing. So, in other words, Solanus has accurately implied the full horrors of the sexual role system in observing men as deformed creatures, denying fully an entire part of their responses, i.e. their passive impulses. She has described the overwhelming falseness of the emotional roles forced on all of us men and women by a culture that is and always has been too confused and too frightened by the mixed elements in humanity to live with things as they really are. Oh, please. No, please. And has made out of female and a male and female a life of an unnatural dichotomy. In essence, we are all of us both assertive and gentle, both forceful and shy, both struggling and inert. No, and I'm not going to let you do that. Let's read that whole part again. Men and women, but the emotional roles. Okay, but go back. She has described the overwhelming falseness of the emotional roles forced on all of us men and women by a culture that is and always has been too confused, too frightened by the mixed elements in humanity to live with things as they are. There's only one race. Okay, and I guess that's how you say it, right? One sex. Oh, excuse me. There's only one gender. There we go. There's only one gender that can't live with things as they are, and that's the female gender. And even ladies know that. You're always trying to change shit all the time. Men don't care. We just want to exist. We don't want to change anything. We don't give a fuck. This is 60 years ago, and still to this day, there's women wanting to change shit. Okay, so this entire line of thinking hasn't gone anywhere. It's not anywhere. It's still in society today. Both struggling and inert. Granted, we may use those. Okay. Both forceful and shy, both struggling and inert. Granted, we may be these things in different proportions, but to insist that as men or women we are fully one and not at all the other, is to have rammed a dreadful and festering lie down the throats of the race. Is to have. I think they meant human race, right? That's what they mean when they say race. Is to have made both men and women live with the dread secret knowledge that they are unnatural. Should men experience the longing to be passive, and should women desire to assert themselves? I guess, yeah, fine, whatever you say, whatever. And that's how I feel like we're getting to. It's like whatever you say, lady. I guess, fine. And now in the age of space, in the age of space, oh, we went to the moon, and now in 2022, we know it's obviously not even true. Oh man. Where is it? And now in the age of space, the lie can no longer sustain itself, can no longer feed on the distraction caused by primitive need, can no longer hold together a concept of civilized life, which is caving in on all sides. I am hardly saying that the sexual role system has been equally damaging both to men and women. To be in overt control, regardless of what demons of insecurity attack from within, could never be comparable to the position of total powerlessness which has characterized female life, although, oh my God, by default and in a curious way, it has characterized much of male-dominated society as well. For in many chilling ways, the portrait of modern society that follows upon Solanus's primary positioning of the male makeup is clearly one composed of negative forces, reactive agents, vengeful responses. Her picture of socialized life is an amazingly Swiftian in its misanthropy, at once terrifying and hilarious, insisting on male deficiency as the cause of social corruption. She then proceeds to describe at some length the various institutions and properties, both abstract and concrete, shaping modern American life: war, politeness, money, marriage, fatherhood, and mental illness. Well, in 2022, looking at this 60 years ahead, war, politeness, money, marriage, fatherhood, and mental illness. You just take out marriage and fatherhood and you got 2022. So that's all it is. War, well, we got war. Politeness, oh, it's called wokeness. That's what that shit's called now. Money, oh yeah, there's tons of money, especially going to, a lot of places. Marriage, nope. Fatherhood, nope. And mental illness, oh, we got a lot of that. Prevention of privacy, great art and culture, sexuality, conformity, distrust. Oh, we got a lot of distrust nowadays. In nearly every instance, she hits the nail directly on the head. She describes everything as dead or dying. She describes the emptiness and falseness, the fear and cunning, the emotional derangement and outlived truths, the spiritual isolation and desperate boredom that characterize cities full of skyscrapers and houses full of electrical appliances. Really? You're going to talk shit about houses now? Or what? Because you didn't have a house? Because you were a beggar? That's what it fucking sounds like. It sounds like she's really pissed off because she never had a husband, and now she's really pissed off because she's poor. That's all it sounds like. Appliances. There are moments when she positively inspired. For instance, she lists the non-human male reasons for maintaining the money work system. A, pussy. B, supply the non-relating male with the delusion of usefulness and enable him to try to justify his existence by digging holes and filling them up. C, power and control. D, love substitute. E, provides the male with a goal. Just think about what you could do with $80 trillion. You could turn it into $300 trillion. Are you trying to, is she trying to say that it's bad to have goals now? I mean, of course, the money work system, of course, to get pussy. Yeah, absolutely. Who doesn't want to get laid? That's one of the main reasons for wanting to get money. I mean, I'm a living proof of that. If you don't make money, if you don't make a lot of money, you're not going to get laid, Well, that's fucking weird. That's absolutely weird. There are moments when she is positively inspired. For instance, she lists the non-human male reasons for maintaining the money work system. Pussy, supply the non-relating male with the delusion of usefulness and enable him to try and justify his existence by digging holes and filling them up. You mean doing something? Are you trying to say that women don't do anything? What are you talking about? Ugh, it's so hard to have to try and relate this to today. Power and control, love substitute provides the male with a goal. What? So now women don't have goals? Are you trying to say that in 1967 women didn't have goals? What? So a woman didn't want to be something back then either? Are you trying to say that every single job in 1967 was done by a man? Well, that's even worse. That's even worse. Just think what you could do with 300. Okay, fine. So she's basically complaining about the fact that men have goals. That's basically it. The money work system, because it gives men goals. That's basically what she's complaining about. And we all know where the money work system is now, because we all know. Now, all that is pure Yahoo. Salinas has stepped aside and, with a shrewdly feverish eye, seen a kind of savage meaningless to the life. Behind the elaborate facade of civilized life, the actions, along with the penalties and rewards, are like games being constructed by inmates in an institution, and the driving forces behind the will to play the games are shame and fear. Now, that's pretty good. I'll have to say that's probably the first thing in the whole goddamn book I've agreed with. I do agree with that. Yeah, she's right. Shame and fear. And it's also even worse now, except the only difference between now and back then is that when you were married, you would have fear and shame if you got divorced, and you were afraid of being divorced because they would shame you. Nowadays, it actually seems like if you're in a normal relationship, people will shame you. Well, why aren't you a whore? Like, why aren't you banging everyone? Why do you have a husband? Why are you married? Dude. Fear, and for this, women have been subjugated. For this, enormous cruelties have been inflicted, and desires suppressed, and spirits deformed. For this shabby, frightened charade, over half the human race has been. Oh, I'm not gonna say that. You ain't gonna get me to say that. Nah. Has been persuaded its capacities are stunted by nature, and its needs quantitatively different from the, i.e., inferior to those of men. Yeah, whatever. See, and this is the problem. They're still talking like this today. I mean, not that word, but they're still talking like this today. That's the problem, because it's not about reality. It's not about what's really going on. It's not about the real rights that women have now, even though they've always had them. It's just, there's still, this sounds like you could write this, or you could take this stuff and put it on an article now, and then you just slap the date on it, 2022, and it sounds like it could be written today. Much of what has been described in the manifesto is understandable in terms of the distortions brought on by the sexual role system. Much of the socialized life of Western society certainly is due to the unnatural terrors of the self originally cited by Freud. What Freud could not see was that sexual fear and cultural need was actually gathering itself together in a form as yet unrecognizable: sexism. Sexism, like racism, the practice of discrimination and oppression on the basis of sex or race, the practice that has denied both women and blacks their full existence. Oh, see, this is just something, I'm never going to agree with that. Dude, black people used to get killed for being black. That's how it was back in the day. Women never used to get killed for being women, man. Come on. Like, it's just a victim thing, and it's a false equalization, or whatever that thing is called. The practice that has both denied women and blacks full existence and as independent adults, the practice that is rooted in primeval terror and encouraged by civilization's false and arrogant sense of need. Dude, we're already halfway through this book, and we still haven't gotten to book. So this publisher, they paid this person for a book, and we're already halfway through, 36 of 96. How much of this is actually her manifesto? Jesus. Arrogant sense of need, the practice that seeks to convince men that they rule by virtue of natural mastery, and women that they follow virtue of natural inferiority. What? Ugh, that still sounds like what they say today. The practice that seems to convince men that they rule by virtue of natural mastery. So you're saying a guy that has mastered a craft, or what? The women that they follow by virtue of natural inferiority. See, that sounds like you could put it in an article today, and it would still fly with the feminists that are out there. Not the feminists watching, because they're real ones, not the toxic feminists. The toxic feminists, like that. They could write that, and it would still go today, and they'd still be claiming all this bullshit. And we know. What Salinas' manifesto does is to uncover the fraud and the burden these notions have imposed upon much of human life. Her arrogant, mean-spirited, self-deluded males are anxious, uncertain, unhappy. No. It sounds like you are, lady. It sounds like you're arrogant, you're mean-spirited. Oh no, hold on. You're anxious, you're uncertain, and unhappy. That's what it sounds like, soul anus. It sounds like you're the person you're describing. Caught in a web of psychological circumstances and intractable custom. Yeah, moving as in a trance through a world they never made. They too are essentially losers in this fucked up beyond belief situation. Most men know they are not masterful creatures, full of undiluted certainty and non-existent weakness. Most men know that they are sexually frightened and emotionally confused. Most men know that they are no more fitted by nature and intellectual superiority to occupy solely the entire range of powerful and independent positions they do occupy. So you just said that most men know that they think that they shouldn't be where they are because they are? Is that what you're trying to say? Is that what you're trying to tell me now? Ugh. Superiority. Most men know that they're fitted by nature, blah, 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 but they are caught. Well, hold on. Range of powerful. Okay. Occupy solely the entire range of powerful and independent positions they do occupy. Then the man in the moon. But they, what? Oh, fine. I just need to keep going. Ugh. But they are caught even as we are in this lie-destroying system of thought and feeling and institutionalized behavior and their everlasting shame. They are terrified of letting it go. They are terrified of the possibility of a new woman, terrified of the unknown, terrified of the contemplation of a future without power. Oh, well, let me show you. Let me talk to you about a future without power. It's where a woman can come out and speak and lie about you, and you have no power to talk about it. You have no power to say anything back because everybody's just going to shit on you. Is that what you mean? Is that what you mean? Soul anus? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, we kind of live there. We live there now. We all know about it. They are terrified of the possibility. Okay. Terrified of the unknown, terrified of contemplation future. Okay. Terrified of falling into the hands of the enemy and suffering the fate of the collaborator. Terrified of an unimaginable future in which they will no longer be themselves. Who wouldn't? Are you trying to say that women wouldn't be terrified of that? That's so stupid. That is so dumb. You're just saying things. That's what it sounds like. Terrified of it all, even though they perceive in their gut that the system under which we now live can only be accurately described as one in which women are oppressed, and as such we are all losers. Ugh, fine. And really, see, this is the thing. This is 60 years old, and like I said a little while ago, this still sounds like they're talking about it today. For in order to oppress women, men must act as oppressors. To act as an oppressor is only to only have certain forms of behavior open to you. Oh my God. You really want to go there? Only certain forms of behavior for you to act as an oppressor. So let's break that down because this is happening today. How many things can women do that men can't do? Amber Heard, Evan Rachel Wood, Ilma Gore. Let's answer that question. If a man did what Amber Heard did, he would have gone to prison. If a man did what Evan Rachel Wood did and Ilma Gore did, and they impersonated federal agents, he would have gone to prison. So you're going to tell me to act as an oppressor is to have only certain forms of behavior open to you. So you just described women today in 2022 are the oppressors, bro. You just said it. Sorry. Thank you, Valerie Soul Anus. Okay. You just said it. To act as an oppressor is to have only certain forms of behavior open to you. Thank you. To have only certain forms of behavior open to you, to have only certain forms of behavior open to you, it is necessary to suppress or destroy any impulses that cannot be expressed within these prescribed forms of behavior. To have certain parts of the self, therefore, cut off from the release and growth of full expression is, in a sense, to be wounded, to be deprived of the use of one's own properties. I mean, it's sad, but all you're doing is describing men in 2022. That's all you're doing. Expression in a sense, okay. To be wounded, as any animal can tell you, is to turn vicious. To be big and strong and vicious is to be more vicious and more deadly than someone who is also wounded but is smaller and weaker. See, and that's all it comes down to. That's what everything about this is. Women are physically weaker. That's it. That's all that this woman is pissed off about. God. And thus we arrive at the fabled male world described by Valerie Solanas, the hope that if women's liberation screams loud enough and long enough, men will arrive at the point where they will understand an insupportability of this existence and utterly capitulate is a dim one. Oh man, I'm telling you, I want to find this woman. Did she die? Is Valerie Solanas dead? Because I want to find her and I want to ask her some fucking questions about the world we're living in. Because god damn. No one in power gives up power willingly. It has never happened, and the prospects for it happening are now are remote indeed. It takes a developed imagination to contemplate the loss of power without paralyzing fear, and this imagination, to which one must be educated, is as yet beyond the scope of the race. Human race, right? They keep saying race, and that's not the way we look at it. It's human race, right? Whatever is must remain as it is. One of the ironclad rules for individuals, for institutions, for governments, for worlds. Thus, human beings remain in the death grips of truths which long outlive themselves. And the history of the race is a history of a painful waste of life. Okay, fine. I just want to keep going because we want to get through this fucking introduction. Power can be wrested. I guess it means wrestled, right? Power can be wrestled from those who hold it in one of two ways. Either war is violently waged and institutions are attacked, or institutions are ignored and counter institutions are built. Wow, the struggle to reduce the power of the male structure and hand some of it over to women is one in which the latter method must be employed. Now they're getting into what's going on now. The point of women's liberation is not to stand at the door of the male world, beating our fists and crying, "Let me in, damn you, let me in." The point is to walk away from that world and concentrate on creating a new woman, a woman who will take no place in that world, a woman who will make that world fall merely by refusing to populate it. Yeah, and that's what we're living in now. And that's exactly what we're living in now. And this is why I wanted to read this. I knew it was going to happen. And there it is right there. That's what we're living in now. All these people that are living today, well, I'm not going to live in an oppressive world. I'm not going to live in that fascist world. I'm not going to live in that racist world, that sexist world. And that's what it is right there. They're describing it. They're describing what has happened in the last 60 years. A woman will make that world fall merely by refusing to populate it. A woman who will remake herself and her daughters in far more divine image, i.e. more recognizably human, than one she now occupies. In other words, the battle for women's liberation is essentially a battle for economic and legal reforms. It is a battle for minds and feelings and psychologies. It is a battle in a war that is unmistakably political. And in which territory one is going to be psychological and cultural change. Yeah, we all know that. Well, no, hold on. I keep on saying we all know that and we know, but I don't think they do. I don't think there's a lot of men that understand things like this. And like that comment said at the beginning, when you believe that, when you read it, yeah, I do. Because now we're reading it and we're hearing why things are the way they are. Cultural change. Men and women are simply going to stop raising their daughters to become mothers. Oh my God! And housewives, and therefore sexual objects. Oh, there it is. Men and women are simply going to stop raising their daughters to become mothers and housewives, and therefore sexual objects. Raising a family and doing housework are the common tasks of a society, to be done equally by men and women. Along with this equality of shared necessity will come the equal pursuit of work, love, amusement, thought, emotional independence, and any other damn thing that increases life and gives peace and pleasure. Of course, to contemplate such a world is also to contemplate the eventual end of the family as we know it. Oh, so she's a communist. Okay, I get it. Of course, to contemplate such a world, and as we know it, competitive society as we know it, sexuality as we know it. The new world will probably be composed of extended families in a cooperated society whose sexual characteristic is mainly bisexual. Wow. Dude. The Scum Manifesto intuits, all of this. Solanus understood the true nature of the struggle, and she wrote, "The conflict, therefore, is not between females and males, but between scum, dominant, secure, self-confident, nasty, violent, selfish, independent, proud, thrill-seeking, freewheeling, arrogant females who consider themselves fit to rule the universe, who have free wheel to the limits of this society and are ready to wheel onto something far beyond what it has to offer, and nice, passive, accepting, cultivated, polite, dignified, subdued, dependent, scared, mindless, insecure, approval-seeking daddy's girls who can cope with the unknown, who want to continue to wallow in the sewer that is at least familiar." I told you. And people hate it when I say that. They hate when I say, "Oh, he told you. Yeah, I did. I told you this book was going to be what we're living through right now. So let's read that again. "The conflict, therefore, is not between females and males, but between scum, dominant, secure, self-confident, nasty, violent, selfish, independent, proud, thrill-seeking, freewheeling, arrogant females who consider themselves fit to rule the universe." Well, I'm sorry, Valerie Solanus, but you know how you rule? You have to take it. And that's why women are ruling now. Sorry. And women have taken it, and they have. And you want to know who led them? Men did. A lot of them did. And I got a message last week, and somebody sent me a message, and they were talking shit, and they're like, "You're a dying breed. There's not a lot of men like you anymore." I'm squeezing my phone. "There's not a lot of men like you anymore. You're a dying." Yeah, I am. Because a lot of dudes today are bitches. They're little bitches, and all they want to do is get laid, and they hope that a woman will like them enough, so that way they'll have sex with them. So yeah, this is absolutely true. Exactly. The scum female is obviously Valerie Solanus herself. The female experience continually referred to in the manifesto is her own. When she writes, "The scum female has made the sucking scene, the fucking scene, the pussy scene, the Peter scene," one envisions her suddenly beneath 1,000 uncaring bodies, and the extent of her painful penetration into the rotten heart of this life becomes for a moment difficult to bear. The greatness of the manifesto and of Solanus herself lies in the fact that her experience transcends itself and becomes not atypical but archetypal. What is that? Yeah, archetypical, yeah. The abandon and neglect and risk-taking and emotional daring behind the scum's female experience makes us trust her interpretive intuition and her intellect. Her conclusions are those of a woman who has genuinely known every facet of being female in a world that essentially despises femaleness. Oh, God. Plunging down into the center of it from way outside, the scum female has put her finger on the painful heart of the matter. Finally. God damn, we finally got past that fucking introduction. Okay, now, fuck, we're already almost at the end of the show for today. So that's the end. That's the end of the introduction, finally. So now here we go with the Scum Manifesto, the actual manifesto. Okay, let's see right here. I think this is it, right? Yeah. Okay. Finally, here we go. Life in this society being at best an utter bore and no aspect of society being at all relevant to women, there remains to civic-minded, responsible, thrill-seeking females only to overthrow the government and eliminate the money system. What? Institute complete automation and destroy the male sex? Well, that's the first paragraph of the manifesto. Wow. Okay. You see, and that's what another one, just like the comment at the beginning said. Will you believe that? You read it and believe that? What? You want me to read that again? Because that definitely sounds like what we're going through right now. Eliminate the money system. Institute complete automation. So the only thing left after that, destroy the male sex. What? How have they not destroyed us? How have they not destroyed men? How have they not? If a woman says anything about a man, he can't speak. He can't even open his fucking mouth. He can't even open his mouth. And the reason I say that is because let's say one day someone was to accuse me of something. You think I'm going to fucking keep my mouth shut like these dudes? Fuck no, dude. I'll tell everyone, and I'll make videos every fucking day, and I'll say that bitch is a fucking liar. I don't fucking care. I'm not like these other guys. I don't care. If I guess if I was rich by then and my legal team said, no, Andrew, don't speak, we'll handle it. Okay, fine, because I'm rich and I have a legal team and they'll want me not to say anything. But if I'm just a normal douchebag, the way that I am here and today, here and now, just some asshole with a camera talking the truth, you think that I'm gonna care after reading something like that? That her goal is to destroy the male sex, and the fact that this has already happened. This has already happened. Eliminate the money system. They've already done that. We barely have cash anymore. Institute complete automation. Come on. Is that not what has happened already? Institute complete automation. We're practically there. And destroy the male sex. That's the only thing that hasn't happened in this list. It is now technically possible to reproduce without the aid of males. And do they even know that that's not true? They keep on saying that, how they can make babies by themselves. Okay, well, all those babies come out to be real fucked up. And you're doing that to a human being. So that's your fault for doing that to a child. All those babies come out real fucked up. Or for that matter, females, and to produce only females. We must begin immediately to do so. What do you think this is, Jurassic Park? The male is a biological accident? What? The Y male gene is an incomplete X female gene that has an incomplete set of chromosomes. In other words, the male is an incomplete female, a walking abortion. What an asshole. Aborted at the gene stage. To be male is to be deficient. Emotionally limited. Maleness is a deficiency disease, and males are emotional cripples. What a fucking dick, man. The male is a completely egocentric, trapped inside himself, incapable of empathizing or identifying with others, of love, friendship, affection, and tenderness. Well, you know, I could use that word because it doesn't actually mean the word, but that sounds gay. And I don't mean gay as in LGBT. I mean, like, you know, the way we used to use it back in the early 2000s and in the 90s, when you said, dude, that sounds gay. Like, that sounds gay. It doesn't mean like homosexual. It means it sounds fucking stupid. Like, you know, that's how the word was used back then. You know, you don't use it that way anymore. But to me, whenever I read that, that's what I have to say. That sounds fucking gay. That sounds fucking stupid. That sounds so stupid. He is a completely isolated unit, incapable of rapport with anyone. His responses are entirely visceral, not cerebral. What? Dude, it just kind of sounds like you look down on men, man. His intelligence is a mere tool in the service of his drives and needs. He is incapable of mental passion. What? Mental interaction? He can't relate to anything other than his own physical sensations? What? He is a half-dead, unresponsive lump, incapable of giving or receiving pleasure or happiness. Consequently, he is at best an utter bore. Oh, dude, you need to get laid. And actually, that's not even true. She's a homosexual. So you need to get some scissor action. Get some scissor action, Salinas. He is a half-dead, unresponsive lump. Consequently, he is a better bore, an inoffensive blob. Thank you. Finally, I could finally be happy being called that. Inoffensive blob. Nobody's ever called me that before, so thank you. Inoffensive. I don't know if I'll ever be that. Let's see, blob. Since only those capable of absorption in others can be charming. He is trapped in a twilight zone halfway between humans and apes. What a fucking asshole. And is far worse off than the apes because unlike the apes, he is capable of a large array of negative feelings: hate, jealousy, contempt, disgust, guilt, shame, doubt, and moreover, he is aware of what he is and isn't. So this barely started, right? This is the beginning. This is the beginning of her little manifesto. Dude, it just sounds like you don't like men. You sound like Dr. Proudman or some shit. You sound like a misandrist. That's all this sounds like. It doesn't sound like there's... Now, the reason I say it doesn't sound like, the reason I say that is because I can understand. In the 60s, men were hardcore. Like, you were allowed to be a fucking piece of shit man back then. You could hit your wife. You could beat your kids. You could do whatever the fuck you wanted. And as long as you were bringing home the bacon, you did whatever the fuck you wanted. Okay, well, that shit doesn't fly anymore. But the problem with that is that if you still read this, it almost sounds like something you could find today. So how is it that the toxic feminist point of view of the world has not changed in 60 years, but our view as men has. Because let's read all this again, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. And right here, he is trapped in a twilight zone halfway between humans and apes. That's horrible just to fucking say that. And is far worse off than the apes because unlike the apes, he is capable of a large array of negative feelings: hate, jealousy, contempt, disgust, guilt, shame, doubt, and moreover, he is aware of what he is and isn't. Okay, so I understand that. But the problem is men aren't like that anymore. Men are nothing like the way men used to be in the 60s. So why are these women still the exact same way that they used to be in the 60s? Explain to me that. Why is that? Oh, because like the person said at the beginning, will you read that and believe it? How many women have read this and then they go and act that way? And they think that way. And I bet you anything, if you were to go to some colleges today, you could probably go to feminist classes and they probably require this as a reading in the class. And I bet you anything that's true. Although completely physical, the male is unfit even for stud service, even assuming, I think, do they mean like breeding, right? Even assuming mechanical proficiency, which few men have, he is, first of all, incapable of zestfully, lustfully tearing off a piece, but instead eaten up with guilt, shame, fear, and insecurity, feelings rooted in male nature. Oh, so you're saying women don't feel insecure and fear? What kind of crap? Okay. Well, then there it is. Feelings rooted in male nature. That means, well, ladies, if you feel fear and insecurity, that's a feeling rooted in male nature. I guess. So stupid. Which the most enlightened training can only minimize. Oh, so now they want re-education too. Second, the physical feeling he attains is next to nothing. And third, he is not empathizing with his partner, but is obsessed with how he's doing, turning in an A performance, doing a good plumbing job. So you want a plumber to not do a good job now? What the fuck are you talking about? You better fucking do a good job as a plumber. I swear, I don't want a bunch of shit in my restroom. To call a man an animal is to flatter him. He's a machine, a walking dildo. Okay, well, those are compliments. You're not going to say that and then, oh no, she called me a machine. She called me a walking dildo. I'm so sad now. Use them for what? Surely not pleasure. Well, not for you because you're a damn lesbo. You're into the Scissor Sisters. That's what you like. You're a lesbian, so of course you get no pleasure from them. But the other problem is that you have women that have probably read this book, millions of women, and they're not lesbians. They're normal, not normal, but you know what I mean. They're straight, they like men, they want to have sex with men, but then they go and read something like this, and you wonder why they fucking hate men, dude. God. Eaten up with guilt, shame, fears, and insecurities, and obtaining, if he's lucky, a barely perceptible physical feeling. The male is nonetheless obsessed with screwing. Oh, God. He'll swim a river of snot while wade nostril deep through a mile of vomit if he thinks there'll be a friendly pussy awaiting him. Okay, and will you not? Valerie Sol Anus, because you're a lesbian, so you like pussy. So you're telling me you wouldn't go through, what is this, a river of snot, wade nostril deep through a mile of vomit to get a vagina? You're telling me you wouldn't do that, Valerie Sol Anus? Yeah, you're just full of shit, fucking lesbo. If he thinks there'll be a friendly pussy awaiting him, he'll screw a woman he despises. Oh, yeah, that's true. I've done that. Any snaggletooth hag. And furthermore, pay for the opportunity. No, I don't know about that. No. If you, dude, like even OnlyFans, no. The hub is free. No. Why do these, dude, have you seen some of the money those women are making on OnlyFans? Wow. There's free porn everywhere. And they're paying women for that? What the fuck? Why, why reliving physical tension isn't the answer, as masturbation suffices for that. It's not ego satisfaction. That doesn't explain screwing corpses and babies. What? Now you're talking about necrophilia and pedophilia, right? Those are the two. Necrophilia when you screw a corpse, and pedophilia when you screw babies. Really? Ugh. Completely egocentric. Yeah, that you are. You are, lady. You're egocentric. Unable to relate, empathize, or identify. You can empathize. You can identify. And filled with a vast, pervasive, diffuse sexuality, the male is physically passive. He hates his passivity, so he projects it onto women. I think we already went over that earlier. That's you, man. What? Oh, so he projects it onto women, defines the male as active, then sets out to prove he's a man. His main means of attempting to prove it is screwing big man with a big dick tearing off a big piece. Since he's attempting to prove an error, he must prove it again and again. Screwing then is a desperate compulsive attempt to prove he's not passive, not a woman, but he is passive and does want to be a what? Okay, that's enough for today. That's enough for today. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Yeah, yeah. Uh, uh, bleh, bleh. What are you talking about? Proves he wants and does want to be a woman? What are you talking about? Because it doesn't make any sense to me, and proves okay, hold on. Screwing then is a desperate compulsive attempt to prove he's not passive, not a woman, but he is passive and does want to be a woman. So now because you want to get laid, that means that you want to prove you're not a woman? We already hit an hour, so we're done there. I don't know. We're gonna have to go back through this whole thing. I'm gonna start this whole thing again tomorrow. I don't know. It just sounds. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? That men want to be women? It kind of just sounds like you want to be a fucking man. That's what this sounds like, dude. It sounds like you, Valerie Soul Anus. It sounds like you want to be a man. So we're gonna start the manifesto part again tomorrow, but because there's only about 20, was it? How many? What about? Yeah, like 40 pages, but we know that that's probably not gonna be all book. Okay, so we're gonna leave it there. So it's really getting to a point where it kind of just feels like this Valerie Solanas woman is just writing down her own insecurities and then attributing them to men. What the fuck? So fine. We're just going to leave it there because whatever. So thank you for staying with me this long. Excuse me. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Let's do it again. Thank you for staying with me this long. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you for clicking the little bell. We will catch you next time.